Hello and welcome to the Culty Podcast. I'm your host Iris, and on today's episode we are joined by my friend Jeremy for an episode of Friday with Friends. At some points in the episode you might notice that the audio and video are not synchronized. I didn't know how to fix that. Hopefully that will be better in next episode. That's enough for now. Have fun listening. Hi Jeremy, would you mind introducing yourself?
My name is Jeremy Morang. I am a science fiction author. I'm a father of two, and I work in the mental health and human services field in a nonprofit.
Nice. As you guys know, I'm your host Iris. I study theology and I've always been interested in cults and the supernatural, and I do deep dives, and the deep dives ended us here on the Culty Podcast. And today we're meeting with my friend Jeremy. We know each other from TikTok and doing lives and doing writing sprints and trying to be productive. And I thought, I've been on his platform so many times. Let's just cause chaos on mine. So here we are.
Fantastic.
So you're an author. You write stories. That's the whole thing about being an author. Can you do a quick rundown of one of your stories?
I'm best known for The Surrender Game, Book 1 in the Guardian War Chronicles sci-fi series. That's the cover.
Nice.
And it stars the high intendant of a fueling station on the outskirts of an area of space called the Exterior. And her little fueling station is like the hub of civilization. Everybody comes and goes. It's a bed and breakfast. It's a layover place. It's got casinos and home-cooked food for the trucking industry. And she comes to be in possession of something that she shouldn't, which brings the enemy knocking at her door. And it's an action-adventure story. It's a cat and mouse game, because the whole idea is she can either surrender the item to the enemy and give them what they want and then lose anyway, or do everything you can to keep it from falling into their hands. And when you're up against an enemy that knows what you're going to do before you do it, how do you pull it off?
Yeah.
So it's a 5-star rated novel, and people in the TikTok community seem to be enjoying it so far. On Amazon.
It's really good.
It's really
available
good.
on Amazon. Everyone, don't skip chapter 18. There's an inside joke there. You will figure it out if you read the book.
It's got its own hashtag now, so we're making a t-shirt, Survivor of Chapter 18 or something like that. But yeah, anyway, it's a lot of fun. I get to utilize it as a creative outlet, and as long as people enjoy the stories I write, I'll keep writing them.
If you could write anything, any story, you're not limited skill-wise, what would you write? Is there a genre you would like to try out? Is there a storyline you got buried inside your brain somewhere that you're too scared to put on paper? Is there something?
It's funny that you mentioned that, because once the sci-fi series is over, well, I think book 4 in the series is when I'm going to release my YA fantasy novel, the first of many. And it's a story that has absolutely no limits. I can just run with it forever. YA fantasy would be the genre I would flip over to. And then both of these series will be running side by side and written at the same time, because I just want to put it out as I have a team now, you know what I mean? Having a team in that type of field is really, really important. People you can really rely on. So as long as the team says we're ready for it, then I'll just put it out as quick as I can. Yeah, YA fantasy.
Yeah.
I have a story that's been buried in there for a long time, and our mutual friend Addie has read it, and there's already anticipation, so I'm really excited about that.
I'd like to read that. I think I'd have an easier time with that,
Then
considering the language barrier.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, it's not your fault.
We've got to find a way to get it into Dutch.
I'm trying. I'm sort of translating multiple stories for multiple people, because I want stories accessible for as many people as we can. But it's kind of hard translating a story you have trouble understanding yourself, Google Translate is my hero. I'm not sponsored. Google sponsor me. Some friends have been yelling at me for product placement, so inside jokes. Who's your favorite character you've written?
He's 3 feet tall. He has aqua blue skin. He started out as a potato farmer, and he became one of the biggest military heroes in all of history. And his name is Gathar Willow, Captain Gathar Willow. He's been the most fun to write because his story is very big, as opposed to some of the other main characters whose stories might be a little bit smaller in the long run. Gathar's character has quite a history and quite a background, and he's been the most fun to write. He lives rent-free, and the next novella that's coming out is the story of how he came to be who he is. Yeah, Gathar Willow. He's my favorite character so far. So far. I think Eddie loves him too, if I remember correctly. There are side conversations with people about the character, and there's no bigger compliment. You know what I mean? Knowing that people are talking about your characters behind your back, there's nothing better than that.
Next question is a bit more controversial topic.
Ooh, okay.
Or not, it's not really controversial, but I know some writers really don't like their work being plagiarized. Writers don't like. Some people go really far and say no fan fiction about my works. What's your stance on that?
It's twofold. My initial gut response says no. You know what I mean? However, the Guardian War Chronicles series has its own ecology now, and it's, it has a scent line, and it has t-shirt shop, and also all those things that come with it over time. So to have somebody interested enough in the characters to want to write fan fiction about them, contributing to the lore and the mythology of the story, so to speak, I don't see why not. I don't really necessarily have a problem with that. I would think of it as like a little badge of honor, you know what I mean? However, there is that flip side that says, no, those are mine. You know what I mean? No, you can't do that. But it's a bridge I have yet to cross. I haven't reached that point. Nobody's ever reached out to me and said, hey, I'd really like to write a Tyrell side story. Well, his side story is very specific. I don't know if you could do it.
Yeah.
But the bartender, have at it. You know what I mean? Or something like that, or using those as an example.
Yeah.
Fan fiction, that's not something that I've never thought of. I've read fan fiction, but I've never known anybody yet to write it. It would be interesting what they would pull off. There's only a few people I think I could trust with it to do it right, you know what I mean? But whatever. Yeah.
The reason I ask is because I actually started reading English on a beautiful website called Wattpad, and I had way too early access on that, but I read a lot of fanfiction, and I might have read something, but I'm not going to tell anyone where it is. The fanfiction I like is using the worlds that are created, for example, using your spaceship and coming up with your own characters. So they might interact with your people once they are around, or they know of them and they know of the story, but I'd never use the main characters.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, no, I never thought of it like that.
And I think those are really interesting, because if I created a story and people want to use my world, I'd be so intrigued what they come up with.
Yeah, no, that's a different take on it. I didn't consider that or even think of it. In that case, have at it. Take it. Do what you want. You're contributing to it as far as I'm concerned. Especially in that situation. There's 9 truck stops in the storyline and across a vast distance away from each other. And I've only written about 1, 4, and 7. If somebody wanted to use a truck stop, knowing my world and my environment and the relative gist of it all, and they want to do a story about Truck Stop 5, go for it. Have fun.
Are there any more truck stop stories in your brain?
I have 2 companion novellas out. So I got the primary series and then the companion series. I'm doing book 3 in the primary series. I'm finishing up writing that now. I have like 2 chapters left. The third in the companion series is on its way back to me like within the week, which is just wicked exciting because that book was so much fun. And the other novella, The Hunter's Proper Name, all take place in specific truck stops. So I'm able to like unify it all together. The first companion starts off in Truck Stop 4 and goes somewhere else. And then the first companion story is like my little version of the Silmarillion, Tolkien's Bible on Middle Earth. So my companion story tells character backgrounds and how things came to be and why things were divided a certain way in first-person narrative story form. Yes, there are more truck stop stories to come. I'll be writing Gathar's war story and Tyreel's origin, and that'll end the companion series. I'll stop it there.
Some personal questions unrelated to books. So, what do you do most days? What's keeping you busy?
I am a quality assurance office administrator. I spend most of my day, my work day, my job behind a computer, doing documents and scanning documents and spreadsheets and databases and a little IT work on the side within the company. And I have my own office space, and I'm far away from everybody else. So I spend a lot of my time alone during the day, and that's where it all stews and brews and comes to life. And then I bring that home. I check in with the family, I do all the errands and shopping and taking care of the dog, and then I come right down here and I go to work. Sometimes that's making a video, and sometimes that's writing and self-editing, because I take self-editing to heart. I want to make sure that I do the best that I can before I send it off to Addie, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who is now my full-time dev editor. And I just work until I can't work anymore. I'm like, okay, because I feel like if I'm not doing something productive, I feel like I'm wasting my time. Yes, I do take breaks and I watch my TV late at night or play a game on my phone or something to unwind, but I like being in front of my world. So
have you always been like that? Like always needed to be productive?
There was something that I had been wanting to do since I was 9 years old, and my uncle told me that I shouldn't bother doing it. At 9 years old, that's a pretty heavy toll.
Yeah.
And I believed him. And the question was, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he was probably expecting astronaut or cowboy or something, you know what I mean? What typical 9-year-old boys would say in the 80s. And I told him I said, I want to write books.
Oh.
And he said, he actually laughed at me out of the room right in front of my two cousins. And, I brought that with me. I did a lot of reading as a kid, but I never wrote anything because I was told that it was a waste of time. In my 30s, the itch came back, but in the situation that I was in, I wasn't afforded the opportunity. So I went to school for mental health and human services, and I've been in the field ever since. It wasn't until I left that life behind 13 years ago was I able to say, okay, you can do this now. You have the ability to do whatever you want, unrestricted. And I just started putting pen to paper on that day. And here we are.
That's
going on
cool.
my 6th novel and a genre spin-off and products. It's messed up to think about. But it took 13 years to get there.
And now you're doing it.
And now I'm doing it. I just constantly have the mindset, is it work worth doing? And considering the personal messages I've received or the DMs and your characters have done these things for me and I want to thank you. The money doesn't matter at that point. The revenue doesn't matter at that point. The fact that it some of my stories have calmed the ADHD brain and allowed people to become immersed in something, there's no greater compliment. Everything else is on the
that's a pretty big compliment.
That's a big compliment.
That's huge.
And we both know the people who have said that, you know what I mean, or have made mention of it. And I take that to heart. So I do what I can to make my characters as memorable as I can. And that requires a lot of work. But is it work worth doing? And I say, yes, it is.
Glad to hear that.
Yes, thank you.
It would suck pretty bad if you were spending a lot of time on it and it wasn't worth it.
Well, that's the whole background of imposter syndrome. What if they don't like it? Just because you like it. We all try to abide by that cliche in the writing community, write what you know.
Mm-hmm.
I know science fiction and action adventure. What I don't know is what the audience is going to think about it. So if I say I know it and I like it and I'm going to do it, because that's what I want to do, it may mean nothing to anybody else. Knock on wood, so far so good.
You have to ask your question to how important is the reader's opinion to you, because
so important.
It's really important what happens to you and what happens to your book. if it doesn't get any reads.
That's the hardest part. We go into the industry most times not marketing experts. We don't have an advertising budget. It's not even something we considered at the get-go. Like, okay, Microsoft Word document, put it into Amazon. Not thinking about formatting and how important that is. I made all those mistakes. The amount of money that I spent for my cover art on the Surrender game would probably make you dry heave, but it was hand painted. So it was worth it, but it's like, okay, maybe, 6 years later or 4 years later, whatever, I now know better. I make all those mistakes so that other people don't have to. Get a good editor.
It would just be nice if we could meet each other before making those mistakes, because I also made those mistakes because I didn't meet any writers yet.
Writing is a lonely adventure unless you have Discord and talking to each other in our live streams and stuff, and doing our events together and what have you. Writing is lonely, but it's so worth it. The end result of it is so worth it. I told myself, if I can help one person with that book, it will have made all the difference in the world. That was all I wanted to do, and that has happened, and that to me makes it worth doing.
I agree with that.
When people say, I can't wait to see where this is going, perfect. I'll keep going.
When people yell at you to write faster.
Yeah. Well, you don't understand. My eyes get tired. I'm in front of a computer 18 hours a day, 16 hours a day.
I'm one of the people that yells at him to write faster.
Yeah, I get it a lot. Yeah, procrastination was a big one. It took a long time to get out of that rut.
Same here.
What I would do is I had to think to myself, okay, we had a management meeting at my old job, and the general manager said, I want everybody at the table to close their eyes. So we all closed our eyes, and he pulled out a watch, and he says, count to 60 in your head. Go. And we sat there and we counted to 60 in our head. And at the end of the 60 seconds, everybody kind of opened their eyes at a different time because everybody's perception of how that time passes is different. And the general manager said, did that seem like it took forever? And we're all like, yeah, because imagine how much you can get done in 60 seconds. And that stuck with me. I would come home and say, okay, it's going to take me 12 minutes to wash the dishes. It's going to take me 45 minutes to do this or run this errand. And when I was able to put things into brackets of time, my free time became vast.
Yeah.
For me, it was the way that my brain had to work because there was all kinds of things going on in my world. Yeah, I used it at work. Okay, it takes an hour to vacuum the entire carpet wall to wall. And what can you do in between all of that? Just try to be as productive and efficient as I could be. And I think it translated well into my personal life or professional life, writing life. Yeah.
Nice.
I
just started trying to race against the clock, so that wouldn't work for me.
Yeah.
So I'd be like, I am very sensitive to obsessive behaviors, time obsessed, task obsessed, whatever you want to name it. So I'd start timing it, and if I took 3 minutes to wash the dishes one day and I couldn't get it done in 3 the next day, even though the dish we'd had would have been bigger, I'd not be able to cope with that.
What if you were to shorten your boundary and extend your boundary and say, I can get it done within these 3 time periods? So that way you always allow yourself that leniency. I can get this done between 7 and 11 minutes. So now you got some time to play with and not feel bad about missing anything.
That could possibly work, but I'd also see myself saying, what if I get it done in 6? Or I would go the complete other way, and I was like, but what will happen if I spend 12 minutes on it?
Right. So then, if you shortchange yourself, just say 6 to 12 minutes.
Yeah,
for the
but
next
then
time.
I
don't know.
would like
throwing
then
stuff at the wall.
extend it every time. There's one situation that I completely encourage myself of doing it, and this is short ramble, not related to anything we talk about. But My family goes camping every summer holiday. I don't know if anyone's familiar with camping in the Netherlands, but we're not allowed to just put our tents anywhere. It has to be on a specific destination. It's very well put together. My parents have a tour caravan, and my sister and I sleep in a tent on the side. It's a small little thing. It's very cutesy. We have our sides we sleep on. If my parents change it around, we will stare at them until they put our stuff back. But every year we time ourselves in putting up our tent.
Yeah.
Every year it has gotten shorter and shorter and shorter because we get more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad is literally standing there with a stopwatch in his hand because we ask him every 10 seconds how much time has passed because we want to shorten it down. But last year, my little sister got involved because we changed around sleeping positions because I now have to sleep in a sleeping cabin in a sleeping part in the main area because I need to be connected to electricity because I have a CPAP mask. I can't do the small tent anymore. I still want to help put it up because we have to break our record. My sister had to get involved because my mom told her so because she was gonna be the one sleeping in. She redoubled our time and I'm still not over it. We used to get it down to 7 minutes and 42 seconds. She spent 40 minutes on it.
Sounds about
and
right.
I'm so sour about it. And I don't know what I'm gonna do this next summer holiday.
Well,
or
next time,
even sooner because we're going camping with my whole family this time.
you just look at it right in the eyes and say, "This is how it's done," and then you get it done in 7 minutes and 42 seconds.
Get out of my way! Get out of
every
my
time.
way! This is how you do it.
And then rip it all down and make her do it.
Oh no, I wouldn't be able to stand that because then she would still spend the hour on it.
Right.
The main reason I'm so interested in cults is because they attract interesting people. They interest really boring people, really regular people, but also very interesting people. And in our daily lives, we might come across very interesting people too. So I'm wondering, are there behaviors you remember of people or very specific people that are coming up in your brain that you're like, oh, those people were interesting and they did stuff different than I've always done it, but I respect it or I might have learned something from it.
Whoa.
Throwing you into the deep.
In regards to the world of cult or the occult or occultism?
No.
Just in general?
In general, in regards to living, being alive in the world.
Wow. That's a tough question. I don't have a lot of outside inspiration when it comes to real people. As far as them being interested, everybody's interesting. I don't know. That's a tough question, Iris.
It's good. If you don't have an answer, that's good.
No, I'll
too.
put my feet to the fire. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Yeah, that's a first for me. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that I have found intriguing. And I also try to look at the world through a different lens as opposed to the one that I've always been accustomed to. You know, my adventure through life, I've always looked at things through a very specific lens. And then once that lens became a different lens, I was seeing things a little bit differently. You know, how things work and paying attention to these certain things. And what those things are neither here nor there. But over time, there's been a lot of people that I've found fascinating because of their worldview or the way that they experience their life and their journey. And I may not be able to pick out a select few names off the top of my head, but a lot of these pastors in mega churches.
Sorry.
Certain names can be completely omitted. Mm-hmm. The second you hear that, names come to light. You know what I mean? You know the people that that he could be talking about. I find them extraordinarily fascinating because I was born and raised in the church. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And my parents helped establish and build a church from the ground up as far as getting a
Mm-hmm.
congregation together. And I was a youth pastor at the age of 13. So I was deep into the realm of church. We had, 5-hour prayer meetings on Wednesday nights, and our church services were 9 hours. Plus all the special events and everything else, and the baseball teams and what have you. And then when I was 17, I left. So, and just went on my own way and left it all behind because certain things I found a little fascinating and I didn't want to be a part of it anymore.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to do the right thing, the good thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a malicious bone in my body. And there's a lot of people out there who are incredibly selfish.
Sadly, that's true.
And I can think of a lot of people that exist or have existed who fall into that category.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just such bad juju.
Yeah, yeah. As you saw by my reaction, I have a lot of specific people, or a very specific group of people that I despise, and that is religious leaders that take advantage of people, because especially with the job I want to have, it gives all of us a bad name, and it's my job to call them out. But I just can't understand you going into a job, into the thing that is supposed to help people, and you take advantage of them. But that aside, thanks for your answer. It made a lot of
you're
sense.
welcome.
When you left that behind, was there anything you missed?
I saw my journey in organized religion the same way I saw high school. I took what I needed from it and I left all the crap behind.
That makes sense. Yeah.
You know me, I'm a firm believer in community. I mean, as far as the circles go, there's family first, friends second, community.
Yeah.
For me, anything outside of that is kind of white noise because I don't watch TV. I don't pay attention to the news. I live my life, and I choose not to live in fear because, fear is the mind killer.
Mm-hmm.
But I needed to leave the church behind. But what I missed is that sense of made family, found family.
Yeah. Yeah.
We talk about made family and found family all the time on our live streams. You know what I mean? And how that's one of the most important tropes to us in the writing world.
Mm-hmm.
There was definitely that found family, made family atmosphere the first 17 years of my life. But when the leader of the pack says, well, you can't attend here anymore because of XYZ reasons, that's when we all said, okay, bye.
Yeah.
And then my parents got divorced like a year later, and I moved in with my father, and then at that point I was kind of living on my own. So I made the choice to not go back. I took the good with me and I left all the crap behind.
That makes sense. See, why I asked is I find it really interesting. You've mentioned not knowing much about cults or like dabbling in it, but not extensive knowledge. The thing I find interesting is that a lot of organized religion can turn very cultish. It could be like cult of personality with the televangelist and them basically praising that leader, or just the sense of community, and once you're down the line with their ideas, you're out. So what you hear from a lot of ex-cult members, what they miss is the community. So in that sense, your story, in how big or how small it is, it aligns with what you hear from ex-cult members or people that left the faith, whatever faith. But it's very similar, and it also, you're not the only one that misses the community aspect of it.
I was good friends with the pastor's sons.
Yeah.
We played together on the weekends and had pool parties together and stuff with the families and barbecues all the time, type of thing. So there definitely was a family-esque, but I didn't think about the negativity of it until way later.
Yeah.
when people try to tell you, these very specific things and they don't align with your beliefs, or what you would even believe is to be facts. Okay,
Yeah.
now we have a contradiction, and I can't associate with you anymore.
Yeah.
So you walk away. Well, I walked away. And my church was speaking in tongues, dancing in the aisles,
Yeah.
interpreting tongues, all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I grew up the complete opposite. I grew up very Protestant, and like the Protestant that is like, if anything slightly weird happens, you have to think about it.
Uh-huh.
And you have to think about where it comes from, because it might be from the devil, which
Yep.
is the complete opposite side. But so it's kind of interesting to hear like the things that align or that are the same with where I grew up, and then also thinking about, oh, that was so different from where I went.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm still a Christian, but I wouldn't necessarily agree with all of what I used to believe anymore. Because we grow and we realize there's more to the world than my small little Christian bubble, and you meet a lot of people and things change. And I think it's good to change and to reconsider what you believe and see if it aligns with your values and stuff. So
well, everybody's looking for a place where they resonate, and I even made a mention of it in the last video I made. We're always looking for a community where we feel comfortable, and when you first get nestled into these organizations or these groups and cults and religious whatever, you're comfortable for a while. And like you had said, one little teeny tiny itty bitty crossing the line, there are consequences and results for the actions. Yeah, but we're always looking for a place where we can be comfortable and be a part of something. And some people just fall into things hook, line, and sinker. I mean, this is the fact of the matter. They're either coerced or they just willingly.
do you have a bucket list?
Do I have a bucket list?
Yes.
When I was able to first write a bucket list, when I was 33, 34, somewhere in there, I started writing a bucket list. And the number one thing on the bucket list was publish my first book. And everything after that was just icing on the cake. You know what I mean? I'm a firm believer, and yeah, this is all me. I'm a firm believer that all of us have the ability to manifest our thoughts into reality, taking something that was once just an idea and actually making it happen. I like to say that I do my best to put my mind to everything, be very conscientious about what I'm doing, and set reasonable goals. There are things on that bucket list that I could probably say that I will never do. Because for whatever reasons, there would have to be very, very specific consequences in order for me to be able to accomplish these certain things. But yeah, most of my bucket list items are very easily manageable. Try to help somebody once a day. Little things like that. Make sure you say hi to the neighbor. Little things.
You are so wholesome. Stop it.
Well, I also believe that if we were to help everybody to our right for 15 minutes a day, this world would be a better place.
That would
it's
probably
funny.
be true.
It's funny because you would mention that in your Facebook profile, it's categorized what your certain affiliations are, right? Or other social media. On my Facebook page, under religion, I have peace. And under politics, I have peace. So I'm just trying to be as peaceful as I can. Do no harm. I've known people who would do horrible things to other people just so they could get ahead in life. And I found that it's benefited me to be the antithesis of that, even if it means sacrificing your time or going above and beyond your means. If you do what you can to help your people, or to help people in general. Does that mean that I'm giving to every single homeless person or panhandler that I come across? No, it doesn't. But I do what I can to try to do the right thing.
We do need a bit more of that in the world. We need more of that. It fits well with like my personal slogan too, because I'm of the very firm opinion that you can believe and do anything you want unless you harm yourself or other people, and that can be harm in any way.
Mm-hmm.
It can be like literal physical harm, but that can also be like using words to hurt people or whatever. Believe what you will, do what you will, but don't harm other people. And if you can benefit other people, so yeah.
Well, I mean, I have it's one of the things on the bucket list. See the Surrender Game on the big screen, or on the small screen on a TV series. What would it take to make that happen? Okay, these are all the research and hoops I have to jump through just to see this accomplished. However, if you can follow this, my sister's husband's sister's husband, I don't know what that makes them. He, the sister's husband, his best friend works for Warner Brothers. So just within that train, who's to say that it couldn't happen someday if all the cards fell into the right spot? So it's a keeper. It's on my bucket list. But there's always that area that says, that'll probably never happen.
Imposter syndrome.
But you never know. Anything's possible.
Yeah.
If you put your mind and thoughts into it, manifest it into reality.
If you would have unlimited money without any rules surrounding, there are no rules or regulations about that money, what is the one crazy thing you would spend your money on? And that's not being nice to people, because that's not crazy enough.
I would buy my own private island, and then
that's pretty cool.
I would establish a come and go, some kind of a route to be able to come and go. And every single person who has ever helped me to get to that point in life would all become instantaneous millionaires, and they could come and hang out on my island. I may even have a helicopter involved. And
as long as you don't pilot it,
we'll just have barbecues and hang out and go boating and do all kinds of cool stuff and just enjoy each other's company and play board games and things. Or video games, whatever. Yeah.
That's a pretty good one.
I might even put an amusement park on it with a roller coaster or something.
Oh, yeah. Me and my friends, if I would have unlimited money, me and my friends have had this running joke that I have friends from different countries, and it's all one big friend group, and we have a running joke that if we all have the money and the mental stability to do it, we will meet up in the middle of our coordinates and have a massive party there and stay there for a month and get to actually know each other face to face. So I think I would do that.
Yeah.
I would just not pick that specific location because I think it might be in volcanoes.
Other little things that I think that I would really want to do. I think that if I bought a private island, I would also go and do the other things that I want to do at the same time.
Yeah.
I want to stay inside one of those transparent globes out in the middle of the woods where you can see the northern lights through your ceiling. I don't know if it's in Switzerland or Norway. Mm-hmm. I'm not exactly sure where that is. I've always wanted to go on an Alaskan cruise and walk on glaciers. Yeah, I've always wanted to do an Alaskan cruise, especially during the time when the northern lights are out.
Yeah.
All kinds of little things. I've always wanted to visit Machu Picchu and walk up and down the stone steps and things. I don't know if I could handle it physically, but I'd buy a jetpack.
Nice. Machu Picchu is a pretty interesting one. I think that one came up in the last episode I did with another friend of mine. We were discussing the 7 wonders of the world and what would be on our own version of that list with current wonders of the world. And apparently, according to much more informed people than we are, because I study theology for a reason. I'm not much of a scientist.
Hmm.
We were dead wrong on most of our facts. That's me. I'm not much of a scientist, but there are a lot of places that seem interesting to visit, and that I would visit if I had unlimited money.
Definitely.
For one, for nature, see different things, but also I think culture is really interesting
Hmm.
because in our little group that we spent most time on together on TikTok, even in that small group of people, with where we come from, I noticed so much differences in how we treat each other and what our normal is. Yeah, I think it's just interesting.
Normal is
Like, for
relative.
example, yeah, it's so relative. Because, for example, if something takes me more than 30 minutes to go, I'm like, that's long. I don't want to deal with that. My work commute is an hour and I dread it every day.
Yeah.
And then I told that to my American friends, and they were like, "You only have to travel an hour to go to work? Damn, look at you." And I'm like, "That's half of the freaking country."
Yeah.
Normal is so relative. And I think it would be on my bucket list, or I would go with unlimited money just to the max amount of places I could go.
Yep.
Just to interact with people, make friends. I'm not that social. I'm an introvert. I don't know what I'm saying. I'd stand in the corner and observe, but I'd enjoy myself.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I know the wallflower feeling. I'll just back up in the corner.
You want to go to a party? That's fun for you.
Right.
See you later. My friends have learned to live with the sentence, "But you don't count as people." When my social battery has run out and I can't deal with people anymore, and then I join a call with my friends, they're like, "But weren't you too tired?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but you don't count as people."
Right. Right.
Because I
Yep.
can hang out with you and not get tired.
Yeah. Family at that point.
Those, yeah. If you could have any hobby or skill that you currently can't, what would it be?
Ooh. Does it have to be just one?
Multiple
I want to.
is okay.
I wish I could play a musical instrument, whether it's the piano or the guitar or the violin, or any combination of those three. I've started many, many, many times, but I could just never commit. I got musical instruments all through this area. I just don't do anything with them. I even have a thumb piano, a kalimba.
They are fun.
Yeah, they're pretty fun. I wish I was artistic beyond the scope of writing. I wish I could do my own art, character art, because I know what they look like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nobody will. AI can't get it right. I would say that if I commissioned somebody to do the art, there would probably be multiple revisions until it was perfect. So I wish I had some artistic ability. My youngest daughter, I mean, she's a graphic whiz. You know what I mean? Zooms in on all the pixels and fills in all the pixels individually and stuff. She's just a madman. I wish I could speed read.
It's a pretty handy skill.
Yeah. I mean, I could read pretty fast, but it takes me a while to sit down to read it. Like, the book will be right there. I still haven't picked it up.
I can read diagonally,
Ooh.
however you pronounce that.
Yeah.
Which is like basically speed reading and like skimming, but reading everything.
Do you retain it all?
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
But I only do it with like stuff for school and things. Like if I need to prepare for a lecture, I'll do it then. But I think that there's not much enjoyment in it reading that way.
Sure.
So I won't ever read a book for fun that way.
I wish I was able to type faster. Like, I've watched Addie type, and she doesn't even look at the keyboard. Here I am going.
Do you type with 2 fingers or do you type with more?
I can type with probably 2 to 3 on each hand, but I do make a lot of mistakes. So I'm always course correcting and going back and fixing it because my brain won't let me move forward until it's fixed. Yeah, I wish I could just look at the screen and type fast. I think I would be more proficient in my art if I could do that.
Don't quote that.
Touche. It is an art. Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of little things that I wish I could pursue or do or have a skill in. Graphic design, better at web designing. What I wish is that I didn't have to do my day job. Don't put that part on TikTok because I have coworkers who follow me. If I wasn't able to do my day job and I could just be here and be live every day, back like the good old days, plus do the Friday show and all the other things that are writing related, I think having a career in writing would definitely be the ultimate end of the bucket list.
That's the dream.
That's the dream.
That's the dream.
So I think I need to sell 119,994 more books.
Guys, come on, we got this. We only have to do a few more.
119,000, yeah.
I don't know. The one thing I wish I would be better at is marketing, especially with the amount of new projects I start. I have the inspiration, I have the knowledge, I have the will to write it down. Should work more on actually writing it down and recording, but I'm working on that. But
Yeah.
the marketing, it's just, I don't know how to do it. It's hard. That would be a skill I want to have.
Yeah, marketing's big. It's the hardest part of
What
it.
else?
So, I tell people, I don't give writing advice. It's never been my thing because everybody's style is different, everybody's brain is different. The only advice that I give to anybody wanting to write a book is just write the book. Just get the words on the paper. That's all that matters. Once that's done, most of the hard work comes after that.
Yeah.
So just get it down because marketing is not easy.
And also editing. You can't edit it. You can't edit something that's not on paper.
That's true. Anything broken
Write
can be
it
fixed,
down.
and anything written can be edited.
Yeah, that is so true. Is there a specific thing that will make your day or break your day? What's the one thing that makes your day better? What's the one thing that annoys you so much that it's hard to get over?
Being immersed in the thing that you're passionate about is the thing that I believe can bring the most joy to a person's life. Our brains and our hands are meant to create and pursue passion. So if you really want to find that blissful place or that anticipated joy, you have to follow your passion. Because I may have quoted this once or twice on the lives. Passion is the difference between living and existing. Always try to be living and not just existing. And I think with that comes passion. Will break my day, being too tired to do the things I want to do. I can get a little grumpy when I'm just so drained of energy and wanting to do something like make a video or whatever, Migraines will break my day.
Yeah.
I don't get them often, but when I do get them, I'm down. And I can feel it coming on too. When when it's about time to have one. Yeah, a nasty migraine will break my day. People who don't say thank you. If you hold the door for somebody and they don't say thank you, yeah, that can really ruin my day.
Noted.
Yeah.
I'm mean enough to you. You're used to
Oh,
me
I'm used
not
to all
saying
that.
thank you. Grandpa.
You hush.
This jongen shall now shut up. If you could be an animal, what animal would you be?
Ooh. Now, if I'm an animal, I'm the animal forever, or when I'm not in human form, I'm an animal.
You're an animal forever.
Forever. A bird.
And if you could be a shapeshifter, like human one moment, animal other moment, would that change? Or
Nope.
would you still be a bird?
Still be a bird.
Still be a bird.
Yep.
That's interesting. I've
Yeah.
never thought about being a bird. I know the one animal I won't want to be. I don't want to be a no rope. I don't want to be a snake. Get those things away from me. Yes.
Oh, as a bird, I can go anywhere and I can do it quickly.
That's true.
And I can see all the things that I want to see. Yeah, bird.
Just make sure you don't encounter planes.
True. I'll fly below 30,000 feet.
If we were on a world where any fictional being could be real and you would, like, Earth is down, all the bad animals, all the bad creatures are on Earth. You can leave them behind, but you can take very specific creatures with you, and you can create a new world to live on. What mythical creatures would you want to be on your world?
Mythical or fictional? Or both, or either?
Both. Both or either.
Hands down, I think dragon would be right up there. On the less aggressive side, I would probably go unicorn.
Mm-hmm.
That's another good question. Leave all the bad ones behind and bring the good ones with you.
Yeah.
Giants, gremlins.
Yay, I can be there.
What about you?
I would want to have Witte Wieven on there. It's a Dutch creature, or like a Germanic creature.
Uh-huh.
And it's basically a witch, but they take care of the farmland.
Okay.
And they exist in like the mist or like the dew on the ground.
Okay.
I don't know the specific what's it called in English, but like if you go outside in the early morning, there's like this white
mildew.
Yeah, they exist in that.
Interesting. Okay.
And in fairy tales, they're mostly pictured as like the bad guys, but they're actually the good guys. So redemption arc, and I like it.
There it is.
So I'm taking them with me.
Okay.
I'd want to have dragons on there.
Good.
I think it'd be interesting to have Bigfoot on there.
I was thinking about Bigfoot a minute ago, but I went,
But just to prove that it's real.
True. Yes. No more of those shaky, grainy camera shots.
No more people in Bigfoot suits, because it's just real, and you're gonna piss him off if you dress up like him.
Yeah.
I was thinking, would I want werewolves or vampires on there? I think I would let them burn on Earth.
Yeah, we'll leave them behind.
Yeah. My friend brought up zombies, but then I was like, they will eat me, so I'll leave them on Earth. That's just constant
peril. You don't want to, live with constant peril. Dragons are bad enough.
So I'll just leave them on Earth too. Do you have creatures that you would leave on Earth?
Not a big fan of anything that's just designed to just bite me or drain me of my blood or,
Mosquitoes.
Ugh. I live in Maine. There's plenty of those.
Oh.
Yeah. There's a few I'd probably leave behind. The Hydra I'd leave behind. Leviathan I'd leave behind. The Kraken I'd leave behind. Big nasty ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's bring Tolkien's elves and hobbits with us.
Oh, I want mermaids on mine.
Mermaids are another good one.
Mermaids. What's the big bird called? Phoenix?
The one that rises from the ashes of a fire?
Yeah.
That's Phoenix.
Yeah.
Yep.
Phoenix. I think I'd like that on my planet. What's the half man, half horse?
The centaur.
Bacchus? Centaur?
Yeah.
Those would be interesting.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know if I'd want them in my country, because I'd be weirded out, but I wouldn't bar them from entering.
You have the dragon to protect you anyway.
It'd just be weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I've got.
Yeah. It's a pretty decent list.
I think every episode it will grow bigger because people will remember different mythology.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've had a chance to dive into that world. Yeah.
I dive into that world a lot, but I also read most of it in Dutch. So
True. Right.
Most of the English names. The other day I was discussing fairy tales with Grom, my friend that was on here before.
I watched a few of your clips.
And he brought up some of the fairy tales, and I was just nodding and acting like I understood, and on the side I was just on my phone Googling the translation to make sure I had the right fairy tale.
Yeah.
I grew up with the Dutch versions and the Dutch names, so I'm like, oh, what was it?
What do you want to do when you're done with all your schooling? What type of career are you pursuing?
I would wanna after I'm done with this, I'd wanna get some more psychology knowledge,
Okay.
and then I would like to combine that with my theology/religion knowledge and help people exit high control groups and get back into normal society.
Mandible.
Because I think, especially in the Netherlands, there is a lack of knowledge and a lack of resources.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have as many high control groups as America have, because we simply don't have the land surface
Right.
to have it to have those groups. But I think we lack there, and I think I have the interest and the knowledge to help. So that's what I'd want to do, in combination with just working in healthcare facilities or churches as a pastoral care person. It just help people when they're in like a faith crisis.
That's pretty heavy
Because-
stuff. Pursue it.
Yeah, I'm busy doing that.
Yeah.
And one of my dreams is to have this podcast take off and be able to do it like part-time and sustain myself. Which I'm also working towards that. So let's see where it goes.
Bypassing that marketing problem.
So
Ask away.
I live in the Netherlands. And we don't get a lot of like news about cults or religions, and not much happens here. We had one case in like 2019, and that's still like, that was a surprise. I'm gonna talk about that in a future episode.
Yeah.
But America seems to be the hotspot for a bunch of like religious stuff happening or cult stuff happening. Do you notice anything? I'm stuck in my words. Do you notice any effects that religion has on society in America?
Yes. I believe that within any social construct, there's a divide. You know, you have this person versus this person, or this group versus this group, and this religion versus this religion, or this religion versus atheism, science versus religion. So yes, I mean, there's always going to be a divide, and I think that that's by design in a lot of ways. I believe that in a lot of cases it's intentional, but what to do about that exactly, I don't know, because it's freedom, 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 freedom. You know.
Yeah.
And I'll even quote one of the characters in my book. If you give somebody power, all they're going to want is more power. So it's the same thing with religion. Give one group more power than another group, there's going to be some kind of a divide. There's going to be a schism there. And then maybe a little bit of calamity. And then you see stuff about it on the news. And it's one of the reasons why I don't watch the news. But as far as very specific things, I mean, nothing that comes up, nothing that like rings a bell. Recently, you know, I was, watching the Waco stuff live on TV when it was happening, and all the other little spin-offs. But as far as like recently, I can't really think of much that comes to mind. Maybe a couple of small little things here and there. Nothing that's affected my general area. Not a lot happens in my state. We're a very small population.
Yeah. What was that like, watching Waco on TV? Because like, I'm researching that stuff now, and I can't really comprehend that happening, but it did happen, and you said you watched it.
It was a big deal. I was just a kid when it was on. You know, my parents were just really, sucked into it. I remember not knowing exactly what was going on and why those things were happening, but I knew that it was important because my parents were so engrossed in it. And maybe that was because of their religious affiliations, you know what I mean, and their backgrounds.
Yeah.
It wasn't until years later, like in college, when I started looking into it again. And then, hearing all the testimonies and, hearing everything that was going on about it, I was like, whoa, okay, this is a lot bigger than what I thought it was. Yeah, people will do very interesting things.
Yeah.
The most, rudimentary way to say it. And then it comes into the whole trust thing. Like, who do you trust, and how do you trust? And is it better to actually have a small, tight little circle of people, so the trust is there? Don't want to be fooled. I don't want to be conned, or there's enough of that going on. But some people fall right into it.
I think it's also easy to like fall into any belief system, really, or like any, because while researching stuff like that, there are so many documentaries about Waco that are just available on YouTube, but you watch one of them and then you're like, yeah, that seems reasonable, and yeah, I believe that. The next one you watch makes completely different points that contradict the points you watched before, but because of the way that it's told, that's the truth, and it's very easy to believe that. So it's very easy to just go with the first truth you hear, or like go with one truth,
right,
and not question it. And I think that is the case with a lot of things. You hear something, you believe it, and you don't really question it until you get confronted with like evidence that it's false.
Yeah, and most reasonable, logical, free thinkers have the ability to adapt to new information when it's presented to them and rethink it. But some people can't.
And sometimes it's just hard too.
Yeah.
Like, for example, me, I grew up a Christian. I've been Christian for 25 years now, but studying theology, I can't count the faith crises I've had on one hand, because you get confronted with evidence all the time, and what do you believe, what do you stick with, and what do you like either not consider or don't find important enough to change for? It's something that I think a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah.
And it's understandable, but...
And a lot of people react a certain way when their ego is bruised. So if you're being told that you're wrong, here's the evidence, their ego won't allow them to see that evidence. Put the blinders on.
Yeah.
And say, no. And they blah, 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 blah. There's want nothing to do with it. And then it becomes blind faith.
There's a lot of that too, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you can answer this question. What is it about certain documentaries and, some of these TV shows like Snapped, or the first 24 hours, and all these serial killer, people getting hurt, murder, real life murder shows that are on streaming services? I know so many people who are they can't tell you any of the cast of Firefly or Star Trek The Next Generation, but they can tell you exactly what was said during a court case in 1979 between this person and this person, and what the jury members' names were. You know what I mean? And it just blows me away that what is it about that is so important to some people?
As a true crime girly, I might have some answers for you.
Okay.
But I'm gonna preface this. The answer is very specific to me having certain life experiences and me being a girl, because that plays into it for me.
Okay.
And I know for a lot of women it does.
Okay.
So, first of all, for most people, it's just interesting. Okay, what happened? A lot of cases have a lot of twists and turns that are unexpected, and people get a sense of entertainment from it.
Okay.
I don't know if entertainment is the right word, but it's just interesting. Second of all, I know a lot of women that listen to true crime because deep down we're scared something will happen to us. And by listening to true crime, we get to listen to stuff that has happened and ways people have been taken advantage of.
Okay,
and we can prepare ourselves and be like, okay, what would I do in that situation? And okay, stuff like that happens, so I'm now prepared because I know of it. I know a lot of true crime girlies that have that mindset.
True crime girlies. I like that.
Yeah, I've
Mm,
branded myself a true crime girly.
that's great.
What drives us to listen to it? What's so interesting about it?
Like I'm a science fiction guy. I can sit down and watch so many different science fiction TV shows from the 70s till the current. You know what I mean? And there are numerous people that I know that, oh, did you watch last night's episode of this? And they all just get right into it. Like, and I do that with my shows. I don't have a lot of people that can go, hey, did you check out the 1994 episode of this?
I think it also has to do with for example, movies. It just, if there's the sentence based on a real story, it brings up a certain interest. Okay, wait, how is this related? Did this actually happen? How much of this is real? I don't know if you recognize any of that, but it brings up a certain amount of interest.
Sure. Yeah, I can see that.
Because it is based on a true story. I think with true crime, a lot of people, yes, they know it really happened, but there is a certain dissonance, it doesn't line up in their brain that yes, it happened, and no, the story you're listening to is not fiction.
Okay.
Somewhere there's somewhere it rips apart and it becomes a very interesting story. And yes, we know it happens, but it's also a really interesting story with many twists and turns. And then there's I didn't know people could be this disgusting or this wrong or this bad. Yeah, that I think is a combination of multiple things, but I think in a lot of true crime fans, they know that really happened, but it's also sort of fiction.
So it's a study of the human psyche. Yeah. Oh, that makes sense. I was very curious.
But some people go really far and become serial killer groupies and send them fan letters and stuff like that. I don't understand that. That's something I can't comprehend.
Yeah, that's pretty scary stuff.
That's a bridge too far. I can't comprehend that. I'd never. No, you can slap me on the head if I ever send a serial killer a letter.
I'll make sure to do that. What are you thinking?
Unless it is for work purposes.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I'm writing a story on you. Can you give me? Yeah.
Hey, you have a cold. Please explain.
Yeah.
That's also I think for me that's also one of the reasons I'm interested in true crime, because a lot of the perpetrators get fans and get admirers. Some people even have memorabilia of them, or there was this girl on TikTok that had earrings with pictures of, I think, Jeffrey Dahmer on it, or something. It was really yikesy, but that stuff happens in real life. So a lot of perpetrators create this group around them that really behaves cult-like. Cults of personality. They've got their own mini cults, and I think that's what also interests me, because anything related to cults, I'm slightly obsessed with. There've been some new podcast called documentaries and series too, so it's pretty interesting. To me, I know I am interested in cults, so there must be other people interested in cults, but the amount, there has been a surge of interest in it, which is really interesting to me, and I'd like to know why, but on the other hand, I can't comprehend that people other than me are interested in it, because I've always seen it as a weird obsession of myself. As proven, why. You're never.
You're right. Yeah. Are you seeing the upswing in interest, on social media, or?
Yes.
Interest.
It might also be because I spend a lot of time analyzing social media.
Yeah.
and trying to see what's going on. Also watching the news, because with what I study, we have like you really like it. It is expected of you. You watch the news because you need to know what's going on in the world, because people might come to you with the question about it.
Have you ever heard of the company called Amway? Okay, I got roped into Amway's sister company, an offshoot, and they were very cult-like. It was. I forget what it's called now, what the name of the company was.
Is it an MLM, multi-level marketing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was invited to all kinds of functions. Yeah. Didn't drink the Kool-Aid though.
Did you ever like sell anything for them?
I was given products, and then they said all you need to do is find 2 other people and you'll start making money. But you also have to attend this function, and you also have to drive to Canada to go here and do this. And when you back out, they really try to make you feel bad about it.
Yeah.
But they know how to lure you in.
One. Yeah. I've got opinions about MLMs.
Yeah.
They're technically not pyramid schemes, but only technically.
Right.
If the court case had turned out a little bit different, they would have been. So I've got this channel. I'm sorry to everyone who is in it. This channel is anti-MLM. I'm sorry to announce. If you're in it, get out of it. You can earn more money somewhere else.
Yeah.
Or like start up your own actual business. Yeah, I think a lot of specifically MLMs really do function as cults, because you only get to know certain information once you're in it. You only get to have conversation with certain people once you're in it. You get told to look at people that are not in it in a certain way, and it's always better in it, and our products, the products that they sell, are always better.
Yeah.
And your life will get better once you're in it, and everyone around you deserves to be in it. Which to me sounds really like a cult.
I'll tell you a quick story. When I got roped into it at the very, very beginning, we had to go to a conference, a 3-day weekend conference, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, in Edmonton, Canada. And from where I live, it was like a 5-hour drive. But on the way there, we were in a caravan of everybody else that was above us, the upper tier, the fishermen, and we were the fish. You know, we're following them to the conference. And about halfway there, we got trapped in this really nasty snowstorm, and we ended up getting into a car accident. So what happened was the caravan came back and picked us up, and then took who was my wife at the time to the nearest hospital, which was in Canada. She ended up getting a knee brace, brace put on her knee, because, we got banged up pretty bad. But they said, no, you got to keep going. This is part of the adventure. You got to keep going. So we kept going, got to the conference center, and the very next day they did this huge presentation where they're showing all the new upcoming products and everything. And the guy that was my fisherman, if you want to call him that, he wanted to introduce me to the upper echelon, upper tier member. And I was like, oh, I'd love to meet him. So he walks around the corner, and the guy that brought me in said, they've been in a car accident tonight. They did everything they could to make sure that they got here. And, we really thank you for, being here. And I'm going to call him the president. The president looks, he's bling, talking gold rings and shiny stuff all over. He says, there's anything we can do to help. You just let us know. You're a part of the family. You just let us know. I said, well, you can pay for my car. That got wrecked. And he says, anything other than that. I went, okay, I've had enough. We're ready to go now. Somebody take us home.
Yeah.
That was an old, that was a long time ago.
That story tracks.
There's a lot of people out there who are sitting around waiting to win the lottery. Some of us have to make our own luck, instead of waiting for something fantastic to happen. We just try to go out and make it happen.
And some people are meanies and make other people make them win the lottery.
Yeah.
MLM.
Yeah, right.
I have opinions, as I said.
I bet you do.
Yeah. There's 2 questions I ask at the end of every episode. The first one is a quick one. The second one needs a little bit more explanation. First one is, do you want to promote any social media or anything? Do you want to promote anything?
Do I want to promote anything?
Yes, I can put up like pictures or links on screen. Where can people find you?
People can find me on TikTok, just my first and last name, at my first and last name. That's where I spend most of my social media time. I do have other social media, but I am not active. I do have a website, which is my first and last name.com. There's about 2 million words in blog posts over there, and all the links to find all my novels. And I'm only on one platform right now. I'm on Amazon. I will be going wide at some point. I just don't know when. I'm waiting for all these little weird things to iron out before I commit to anything. Our Friday night show on TikTok, Wordy Birds and Book Nerds. I know it's a great name, but it was somebody else picked that name. That's pretty much it. That's my social life. I other than our Discord, I don't have too many other places. I do have an author Facebook page, but I'm not really active over there because I had originally thought that my friends and family on social media would be my number one supporters. Couldn't have been further from the truth. It's the complete opposite. My supporters exist in TikTok. That's where I found my made family, or found family, whatever you want to call it. So that's where I try to be the most active. That's pretty much me, Iris.
And the second question needs a little bit more information. I watch a YouTube channel, and I've brought it up in different episodes, so people that have seen episodes before will know. I watch a YouTube channel called Cults to Consciousness. Shalise Ansola is the host, and she invites people that have genuinely been in high control groups or cults or sects and have escaped and have a story that needs telling. It needs to be heard by the world. So if you want to watch a real cult channel, watch that one. There are a lot of channels, but hers is worth watching. She ends her episode with a Listen Linda, where she lets her guests send a message into the world, and I have my own spin on it.
Okay.
Doesn't have a name yet, but my question to you is, what's the one message you want viewers to take away from this episode, or a new message that you want to send into the world?
Be the best version of yourself that you can be. It's okay to be you, and don't be afraid of being who you are. I said it before, fear is the mind killer. That's a quote from Frank Herbert. Yeah, I think that would be my best advice in general, is to do the absolute best you can be, to be the absolute best version of yourself. Because if you're not, you're shortchanging your potential. Follow your passions, because when you start following your passions, it can lead you out of some pretty nasty, dark places. And just be kind. I know it sounds so cliche, but
it's a beautiful message.
Be kind. There's a greater takeaway. And I think that comes with being the best version of ourselves that we can be. If you feel a need to do this, as long as it's not doing any harm, do it. Do the thing. Don't be afraid to do it, and don't let anybody say you can't. Ever. Don't ignore them. They don't belong in your life, because I grew up with that. You can't. Well, you know what? You're wrong. Exhibit A. Don't be afraid of hard work. Nobody accomplishes anything alone. Be happy.
Thank you for that. I think that's pretty good to send out into the world. My message for today is anything can be scary, living can be scary, believing can be scary, but as you also said, don't live out of fear. If you feel like you believe something and it gets challenged, or you find out a different truth, or you find out facts, and it scares you, that's the point where you don't stop. You go on, you figure it out, you research, you get into it. Don't stop out of fear. Figure out why it triggered something. It is worth it, I promise you. It might take away something you thought you had, but it will give you so much more. And it will give you the chance to live more honestly to yourself and to the world. And I promise you, as I said, it's worth it. The second message, I said it before, if you're in a high control group, if you need to escape from somewhere, there are people to help. Safety is the first and most important thing. You deserve to live a safe and happy life. If you can't get out, get out. There are people to help, and you're not alone in the world.
Good message.
Jer, thank you for being on.
Thank
I
you.
love talking with you.
And I you.
We might see you again. Why join a cult when you can join our comment section?